Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a concept that is going to completely flip how you think about personal finance. We're diving deep into the psychology of money, and we're going to strip away all that confusing financial jargon to look at the real engine of success. It's all about why your behavior actually beats the math. So, I want to kick things off with a pretty wild question for you. How does a humble janitor beat a high-powered Harvard executive at the money game? I know, it sounds like the setup to a joke, right? But it's actually a verifiable historical fact. And I'm bringing this up right off the bat to completely disarm any insecurities you might have about not being smart enough for finance. Because, as we're about to see, raw intelligence actually has surprisingly little to do with it.
Subscribe to Sion for more fascinating, insightful, and wealthy stories.
Okay, let's dive into this. Consider the story of Ronald Reed. He was a rural Vermont native, the very first person in his family to graduate high school. He fixed cars at a local gas station for 25 years, swept floors at JCPenney for 17 years, and his main hobby was literally just chopping firewood. Yet, when he passed away in 2014, he left behind an $8 million fortune. $8 million! All built just by patiently saving and investing in blue-chip stocks over decades. Now, on the flip side, contrast Ronald with Richard Fiscone. Fiscone was a Harvard-educated Merrill Lynch executive. Brilliant guy, highly trained, heavily praised, but he borrowed absolutely massive amounts of money to expand this sprawling 18,000-square-foot mansion. When the 2008 financial crisis hit, he was totally crushed by the debt and went completely bankrupt. Same economy, vastly different behaviors, completely opposite outcomes. These two wildly contrasting lives perfectly prove the core thesis of our explainer today, drawn directly from Morgan Housel's brilliant insights. The premise is essentially this. Financial success is not about your formal education. It's not about your IQ, and it's certainly not about complex math. It is overwhelmingly about how you behave. Literally, a financial genius who loses control of their emotions can be an absolute disaster, while an ordinary person with zero financial education can build incredible wealth if they just master a few basic behavioral skills. That's a total game changer, because it means financial success is entirely within your grasp. Section 1. Money is a soft skill. So there is a massive problem with how we're typically taught about personal finance. We wrongly treat money like it's physics, right? Like a hard science driven by strict rules, laws, and exact formulas, where you just plug in the numbers and boom, you get a guaranteed result. But here's the thing. People aren't formulas. We really need to start treating money as a soft skill, much more akin to psychology. It's driven by our emotions, our egos at the dinner table, our pride, and our own personal histories. Knowing what to do mathematically tells you absolutely nothing about what goes on in your head when you actually try to execute that plan during a terrifying market crash. Moving on to Section 2, why no one is crazy. If money is all about psychology, then we really have to understand why people, and that includes you and me, make the strange money choices we do. Consider this absolutely staggering statistic. Your individual personal experiences make up maybe 0.0000001% of what has actually happened in the world. But those same tiny, highly specific experiences dictate about 80% of how you think the whole world works. For example, a person who grew up in severe poverty thinks about risk in a way a wealthy investment banker simply cannot fathom. Or a person who lived through massive inflation looks at a dollar bill completely differently than someone who grew up with perfectly stable prices. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it perfectly illustrates this point through the sheer luck of your birth year. Say you were born in 1970. The stock market increased almost tenfold during your teens and 20s, your most formative years. You likely grew up genuinely believing the stock market is this magical, wealth-generating machine. But what if you were born in 1950? The market basically went nowhere during those exact same years of your life. You probably learned deep down that the stock market is a dangerous, stagnant place that just destroys wealth. Neither person is smarter than the other, right? They were just anchored to completely different realities by the sheer dumb luck of when they were born. And that brings us to this incredibly important, liberating mantra. Every single financial decision makes perfect sense to the person making it in that exact moment. We all tell ourselves a story to justify our actions based on our own unique worldview. Sure, we might be horribly misinformed. We might be terrible at math. We might just be falling for slick marketing. But no one is truly crazy. We are all just reacting rationally to the unique historical reality we've personally lived through. Section 3. The magic of compounding. Once we understand our own behaviors and biases, we can actually start looking at the mechanics of building wealth. So how do ordinary folks, people like our janitor Ronald Reed, actually leverage time to their immense advantage? Well, if you want to know the single most powerful investing strategy in the world, It fits on one page, and the title of that page would simply be Shut Up and Wait. Seriously, good investing isn't about chasing huge one-off home run returns that you can't ever repeat. It's about earning pretty good, decent returns that you can stick with and repeat for the longest possible period of time, because that is when compounding absolutely runs wild. But hey, there's a catch. Long-term planning is a lot harder than it seems because, well, you are going to change. Your goals are going to change. You know, compounding is a lot like planting oak trees. A year of growth shows you almost nothing. But 50 years, that creates something extraordinary. To get there, you need a profound survival mentality. You have to survive unpredictable economic storms, nasty recessions, and even your own shifting life goals over decades, all without interrupting your money unnecessarily. Which means we literally need to rethink a word we toss around every single day: wealth. True wealth is income not spent. It's an option not yet taken to buy something later. We tend to judge wealth by what we can physically see, right? The flashy cars, the massive homes, the lavish Instagram vacation photos. But what you don't see is the massive pile of debt often funding those exact things. True wealth is hidden. It is the quiet restraint it takes to not buy the expensive car today so that you have freedom and flexibility tomorrow. Section 4, building wealth through behavior. So, the crucial point is, if wealth is hidden and money is fundamentally a soft skill, how do we actually do this? Well, here's a concrete behavioral playbook that you can adopt right now, today, no matter what your income level is. First and foremost, aim to be mostly reasonable, not coldly rational. Because you are a messy human being and not an Excel spreadsheet, adopting a financial plan that simply helps you sleep soundly at night is far, far better than chasing mathematical perfection. Think about it. If a technically imperfect strategy is the one thing that keeps you from panic selling during a horrible recession, then it's actually the most profitable strategy you could possibly have. Let's walk through these 5 timeless habits really quickly. Number 1, save for no specific reason. You don't just save for a car or a house, you save for the unpredictable, crazy curveballs life will inevitably throw at you. Number 2, worship room for error. Always have a buffer so a single bad break doesn't totally wipe you out. Number 3, use money to control your time. The absolute highest dividend money pays is the ability to wake up every morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. Number 4, be nicer and less flashy. People don't actually admire your expensive stuff, they just imagine themselves having it. Humility pays off big time. And finally, number 5, define the game you are playing. Do not take investment cues from a manic day trader if you are just quietly saving for a retirement that is 30 years away. I absolutely love this quote by Napoleon because it just perfectly wraps up everything we've been talking about. He said, "A genius is the man who can do the average thing when everyone else around him is losing his mind." In finance, you don't need a Harvard MBA. You definitely don't need a crystal ball to predict the future. You just need to endure. Steady, average, patient behavior will absolutely always triumph over sheer intelligence that gets easily derailed by panic or greed. I want to end this explainer by leaving you with one final provocative question to chew on. Take a hard look at your own relationship with money right now and ask yourself, are you playing the game to look wealthy today, or are you quietly building the hidden behaviors and habits to be truly wealthy tomorrow? Remember, the choice is entirely in your hands, and it all starts with how you behave. Thanks so much for joining me, and keep learning.
Subscribe to Sion for more fascinating, insightful, and wealthy stories.